How does a mother live with herself when she realizes she sent her daughter into a house that became a prison? What do you do when you discover that the family you welcomed with open arms is the same one that's breaking your child's spirit day by day, slap by slap? And how far will you go to undo a mistake that's been unfolding for 3 years right under your nose while you smiled at family dinners and pretended everything was fine? I'm standing in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning in November, holding a phone that's still warm from my daughter's tears. The call came at 6:45, just as I was making my first cup of coffee. Her voice was broken, raw, different from any sound I'd ever heard come out of her mouth. She said his name, her father-in-law's name, and then she said the words that would split my life into before and after. He hit me, Mama. He hit me because the soup was too salty. And Daniel, my Daniel, he just stood there. He didn't say a word. My hands are shaking so hard I have to put the phone down on the counter. Through the window, I can see the street waking up, a neighbor walking his dog, a delivery truck rumbling past, the world going on like nothing has changed, but everything has changed. Everything. I think about the wedding 3 years ago. I think about how proud I was, how relieved. My daughter Sophia, my only child, marrying into what I thought was a good family. Daniel seemed kind, quiet, respectful. His father, Comandante Ruiz, retired military, always so proper in his uniform at family events, always talking about discipline and respect and the importance of family unity. His mother had passed away years before, and he'd raised Daniel alone. I thought that made him strong. I thought that made him admirable. I thought a lot of things that turned out to be lies I told myself because I wanted to believe them. The house they live in belongs to the Comandante. He made that clear from the beginning, though he wrapped it in generosity. "You'll live with me," he told them at the engagement party. "Why waste money on rent when I have this big house? We'll be a family all together the way it should be." Daniel nodded along, eager to please his father. Sophia looked at me across the table that night, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe. Fear. But I smiled at her. I squeezed her hand. I said, "How wonderful. You'll never be alone." And God forgive me I said that. If this story has already touched your heart, subscribe now, leave a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I grew up in a different time, a different world. My own mother taught me that family was everything, that you made sacrifices, that you bent until you nearly broke, but you never, ever broke the family apart. When I married Sophia's father, I moved into his mother's house for the first 2 years. I bit my tongue through 1,000 small humiliations. I learned to cook the way his mother wanted. I learned to clean the way she inspected. I learned to make myself small and quiet and grateful. And when Sophia was born, I promised myself I would raise her different, stronger, freer. I worked 2 jobs after the divorce so she could stay in a good school. I bought our little house, just the 2 of us, with money I saved 1 paycheck at a time over 15 years. It's not much. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that's more of a corridor than a room. But it's mine. The deed has my name on it. The mortgage is paid off. When I lock the door at night, nobody can tell me what to do inside these walls. I raised Sophia to believe she deserved that same freedom. I sent her to university. She became a teacher, kindergarten, making enough to save a little every month, building toward her own future. She had plans. She wanted to open her own preschool someday, a place where children could learn through play and creativity, not fear and rigid rules. But then she met Daniel at a cousin's birthday party, and 6 months later, she was engaged. And I was so relieved. Relieved that she wouldn't be alone. Relieved that she'd have someone to take care of her. Relieved that I'd done my job, that I could finally rest, that my daughter would be safe. The irony tastes like metal in my mouth now. The wedding was in April, cherry blossoms everywhere, Sophia in a dress we'd chosen together, white lace and seed pearls, her grandmother's rosary wrapped around the bouquet. The Comandante walked her down the aisle because her own father, my ex-husband, had moved to Monterey years ago and barely kept in touch. I watched from the front pew as this man in his dress uniform, medals gleaming, delivered my daughter to his son. I cried. Everyone said they were tears of joy. They were tears of relief, and relief is just another word for wanting something to be over. After the wedding, Sophia moved into the Comandante's house in Colonia Nápoles. It's one of those neighborhoods that used to be elegant 50 years ago. Big houses behind high walls, trees lining the streets, a sense of old money and old families holding on to past glory. The house itself is enormous, 3 stories, dark wood everywhere, heavy furniture, photographs of the Comandante in various uniforms covering the walls like a shrine to his own importance. Daniel and Sophia had the entire 2nd floor to themselves, he said. Their own bedroom, their own bathroom, a small sitting area. Privacy, he said. Independence, he said. But the Comandante controlled everything. He decided when they ate dinner, 7 o'clock sharp, everyone at the table. He decided what they ate because he gave the housekeeper, Senora Clara, a list every week of approved meals, nothing too spicy, nothing too rich, everything measured and controlled. He decided when they could have visitors because unexpected guests made him uncomfortable. And slowly, week by week, month by month, he decided who my daughter was allowed to be. The first time I noticed something was wrong was at Christmas dinner last year at my house. Sophia barely spoke. She kept looking at her phone, checking the time, jumping a little every time a car drove past outside. When I asked if she was okay, she smiled too quickly, too bright. "I'm fine, Mama. Just tired from work." But her hands were shaking when she reached for her water glass. Daniel was attentive in a way that felt wrong. He cut her food for her without asking. He refilled her plate when she'd barely touched it. He answered questions I'd asked her directly. When I tried to give her a container of leftovers to take home, he said, "My father prefers we eat fresh meals at home. He doesn't like us bringing in outside food." I should have said something then. I should have pulled her aside, looked her in the eye, asked her the real questions. But I didn't. Because Daniel smiled when he said it. Because the Comandante had always been polite to me. Because I didn't want to be the kind of mother who interferes, who causes problems, who can't let go. My mother's voice in my head, even though she's been dead for 10 years, "Don't make waves. Don't embarrass the family. Don't be difficult." Now, standing in my kitchen with my daughter's broken voice still echoing in my ears, I understand something my mother never taught me. Sometimes making waves is the only way to keep someone from drowning. I call Sophia back. She answers on the first ring, her voice raw. "Mama, I'm coming to get you," I tell her. "Pack a bag, whatever you can carry. I'll be there in 30 minutes. "I can't," she whispers. Is Daniel there right now?" "No, he went to work. The Comandante is downstairs." "Mama, if he sees me packing," "Then don't let him see you. Put your phone on silent. Pack only what matters. Documents, identification, your bank cards, any money you have, one change of clothes, nothing else. I'll handle the rest later." "Mama, I'm scared." "I know, mi amor. I'm scared too. But I'm coming. 30 minutes. Be ready." I hang up before she can argue, before I can second-guess myself, before the fear in her voice can paralyze me. I grab my purse, my keys, my phone. I don't change out of my house clothes, old jeans and a sweater. I don't put on makeup. I don't think about what I'm going to say to the Comandante if he tries to stop me. I just go. The drive across the city feels like moving through water, everything slow and thick and resistant. Traffic on Insurgentes, construction on Viaducto, a truck broken down on División del Norte. I grip the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turn white. I run 2 yellow lights. I park 3 houses down from the Comandante's house because I don't want him to hear my car pull up, don't want him to have time to prepare, to call Daniel, to lock my daughter in her room. The house looks exactly the way it always does. Imposing. Proper. The high wall painted a respectable cream color. The iron gate closed but not locked during the day. The garden immaculate, everything trimmed and controlled. I push open the gate and walk up the stone path to the front door. I ring the bell. Senora Clara answers, wiping her hands on her apron. She's worked for the Comandante for 20 years. A small woman in her 60s who moves through the house like a ghost, always present, never noticed. Her eyes widen when she sees me. "Senora Patricia," she says, "we weren't expecting you. I'm here to see Sophia." "Is she upstairs?" Senora Clara glances over her shoulder toward the sitting room, where I can hear the television playing news at high volume. The Comandante's routine. Every morning from 8 to 9, he watches the news, drinks his coffee, reads the paper. A man of discipline, he always said. A man of habits. "She's upstairs," Senora Clara says quietly. "But the Comandante—" "Thank you," I say, and I step past her into the house. The sitting room is to my left. I can see him in his chair, his back to the door, wearing his house uniform, pressed slacks and a button-down shirt, even though he's been retired for 5 years. Everything about him is pressed, controlled, rigid. I don't announce myself. I head straight for the stairs. I'm halfway up when his voice cuts through the air like a blade. "Patricia, what are you doing in my house?" I stop. I turn. He's standing at the bottom of the stairs now, looking up at me with the expression I've seen 100 times at family gatherings. The expression that says he's in charge, that he makes the decisions, that everyone else exists to follow his orders. "I'm picking up my daughter," I say. "Sophia is at work." "No, she's not. She's upstairs, and I'm taking her home." Something flickers across his face, surprise maybe, that I'm talking back to him. Nobody talks back to the comandante. Not his son, not his housekeeper, not the extended family who shows up for his birthday every year and thanks him for his generosity. "This is her home," he says. "This is your house. Her home is with me." He starts up the stairs. There's something in the way he moves that makes my heart race, a barely contained violence. A man used to people getting out of his way. I don't move. I stand there on the landing, blocking his path, and I think about Sophia's voice on the phone. "He hit me, Mama." "Get out of my way," he says. "No." We're standing 2 steps apart now. I can smell his cologne, something expensive and sharp. I can see the vein pulsing in his temple. I can see his hands curling into fists at his sides. "Your daughter is hysterical," he says, his voice low and controlled. "She overreacted to a minor correction. She burned the soup last night, ruined dinner for everyone, and when I expressed my displeasure, she started crying and carrying on like a child. This is exactly why young women need guidance, structure, discipline." "You hit her." "I corrected her. There's a difference." "No," I say. "There isn't." Behind me, I hear a door open. Sophia appears at the top of the stairs, a small backpack over her shoulder, her face swollen from crying. There's a bruise on her left cheek, purple and yellow, the kind of bruise that comes from a hard slap with a closed hand. I see it, and something inside me that's been sleeping for years wakes up roaring. "Go to the car," I tell her. "Now. Patricia, if you take her out of this house, you're destroying her marriage," the commandante says. "You're destroying her future. Daniel is a good man. He provides for her. He gives her everything she needs, except safety, except respect, except the right to burn soup without being beaten for it." Sophia moves past me, past him, down the stairs. He reaches for her arm as she passes, and I step between them so fast I don't even think about it. I'm 52 years old, 5'3", 130 pounds. He's 68, 6 feet tall, a trained military man who spent 30 years commanding soldiers. I don't care. "Touch her again," I say, "and I'll have you in prison before dinner." He laughs, actually laughs. "On what grounds? Correcting my son's wife in my own home? Good luck finding a judge who'll listen to that. Domestic violence, assault, unlawful imprisonment. And I'm sure once the authorities start looking into your household, they'll find other interesting things. How you control your son's money, how you isolate his wife, how you've created a little kingdom here where you're the absolute ruler and everyone else is your subject." His face goes red. "Get out of my house." "Gladly." Sophia is already outside. I can see her through the open front door, standing on the path, hugging herself. Senora Clara is nowhere to be seen. Smart woman. She's learned when to disappear. I walk down the stairs, past the comandante, and I don't let myself run, even though every instinct is screaming at me to grab my daughter and flee. I walk at a normal pace, my head up, my shoulders back. I walk like a woman who has every right to be here, taking back what's hers. Behind me, he says, "Daniel will never forgive you for this." I stop at the door. I turn back. Then Daniel can join his father in learning that some things are more important than forgiveness, like safety, like dignity, like being the kind of man who protects his wife instead of watching his father beat her. I close the door on whatever he says next. Sophia is in my car, buckled in, staring straight ahead. I get in the driver's seat, start the engine, pull away from the curb. We're 2 blocks away before either of us speaks. "Mama," she says, her voice small. "What did I just do?" "You saved yourself," I tell her. "And I helped. That's what mothers are supposed to do. I should have done it sooner." She starts crying again, huge gasping sobs that shake her whole body. I reach over and grip her hand while I drive. And I make her a promise I don't know if I can keep. You're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you again. But even as I say it, I know this is just the beginning. Daniel will call. The comandante will retaliate. There will be pressure from the family, from their friends, from everyone who thinks a wife should stay with her husband no matter what, because that's what women do. That's what keeps families together. We have to be ready. We have to be smart. And we have to move fast because the deadline is already ticking. Daniel gets off work at 5. In 8 hours, he'll go home to his father's house, and they'll realize Sophia isn't coming back. They'll realize I've taken her. And then the real war will begin. But right now, in this moment, driving through Mexico City traffic with my daughter's hand in mine, I feel something I haven't felt in years. I feel like a mother again. Not a visitor, not a bystander, not someone who smiles and nods and pretends everything is fine. A mother who fights. The apartment feels different when we get home. Smaller and safer and more real than it has in months. Sophia sits on the couch in the living room, still wearing yesterday's clothes, still holding her backpack like someone might try to take it from her. I make tea, chamomile with honey, the way I used to when she was little and couldn't sleep. I sit next to her and wait. She drinks half the cup before she starts talking. It started small, she says, the comandante correcting how she set the table, telling her she was too loud when she laughed, suggesting she dress more modestly, more appropriately for a married woman. Daniel would nod along, agree with his father, tell her gently that maybe she should listen, that his father had a lot of experience, that it was easier to just do things the way the old man wanted. Then it got bigger. The comandante started managing their money. Daniel's entire paycheck went into an account the comandante controlled, and he gave them an allowance every week for necessities. It's smarter this way, Daniel said. My father understands investments, retirement planning, how to make money grow. We're building toward our future. But Sophia never saw statements. She never saw paperwork. When she asked questions, the comandante would smile and pat her hand and say, "Don't worry your pretty head about finances. That's men's work." She wasn't allowed to see her friends without permission. The comandante said unexpected visitors disrupted his routine, and his health was fragile. He needed peace and quiet and predictability. When Sophia's friend Laura came by unannounced one afternoon, the comandante wouldn't let her pass the gate. He called Sophia downstairs and lectured her for 30 minutes about respect, about boundaries, about how disappointment was weakness and weakness was unacceptable in his home. After that, Sophia stopped inviting anyone over. She stopped going out for drinks after work with other teachers. She stopped taking my calls unless Daniel or the comandante was present. She stopped posting on social media. She became quieter, smaller, more careful. She learned to anticipate the comandante's moods, to have dinner ready exactly at 7, to keep her voice down, to avoid certain topics, to disappear into her room when he wanted the house to himself. And Daniel let it happen. Daniel encouraged it. Daniel chose his father over his wife every single time. I kept thinking it would get better, Sophia says, staring into her tea. I thought once we had a baby, once I gave the comandante a grandchild, he'd soften. He'd see me differently. We'd be a real family. Did you try? I ask quietly. For a baby? She shakes her head. I'm on birth control. I hide the pills in my makeup bag. The comandante checks everything else, but he doesn't go through my personal care items. Too inappropriate for a man of his generation. She laughs, but it's a bitter sound. I couldn't bring a child into that house, Mama. I couldn't raise a baby in that prison. I think about all the Sunday dinners I attended at the commandante's house over the past 3 years. The way Sophia would serve everyone before sitting down herself. The way she'd jump up to refill glasses, to clear plates, to bring the comandante his after-dinner coffee exactly the way he liked it. 3 sugars, no milk, served in the blue ceramic cup with the military insignia. I thought she was being a good hostess. I thought she was being respectful. I didn't see that she was being trained like a dog, rewarded for obedience with cold approval, punished for mistakes with silence, with criticism, with isolation, and finally, last night, with violence. Tell me what happened, I say. All of it. Sophia closes her eyes. I made soup for dinner. Tortilla soup, the way Señora Clara taught me. But I added too much salt. I didn't taste it before I served it. I was rushing. I had papers to grade, and I lost track of time. The comandante took 1 spoonful and spit it back into the bowl. He said I was careless, incompetent, an embarrassment. He said I couldn't even manage a simple meal. How did I expect to manage a household, a family, a future? She opens her eyes, and they're full of tears again. I apologized. I offered to make something else, but he just kept going. He said I was worthless, that Daniel had made a mistake marrying me, that I was dragging the family down with my incompetence and my weakness. And then, she touches her cheek, the bruise. He stood up and slapped me across the face, hard enough that I fell against the counter. And Daniel just sat there. He looked at his plate. He didn't say anything. The commandante told me to go to my room, that I wasn't fit to eat with civilized people. So I went. I stayed there all night. And this morning, Daniel left for work without saying goodbye, like nothing had happened. That's when you called me. That's when I realized I couldn't stay another day, another hour, that if I stayed, something in me would die. Maybe I'd die. Maybe not physically, but the person I used to be, the person who had dreams and plans and a voice, that person was already disappearing. Another year in that house, and she'd be gone completely. I hold her while she cries, and I think about all the warning signs I missed, all the times I told myself I was being paranoid, overprotective, that I needed to let her live her own life. All the times I chose comfort over truth, peace over confrontation. My mother's training runs deep. Don't make waves. Don't embarrass the family. Don't be difficult. But my mother's training almost killed my daughter. Around noon, Daniel starts calling. Sophia's phone rings and rings and rings. She doesn't answer. She just stares at it, watching his name light up the screen over and over. He leaves voicemails, 5, then 10, then 15. His tone progresses from confused to worried to angry. Sophia, where are you? My father said your mother came by. Call me back. Sophia, this isn't funny. You're scaring me. Please call. Sophia, whatever my father said to you, I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. Come home and we'll talk about it. Sophia, you're being dramatic. You're blowing this out of proportion. You need to come home right now. Finally, around 2 o'clock, my phone rings. Daniel. I answer. She's not coming back, Daniel. Silence. Then, put her on the phone. No. Patricia, I don't know what Sophia told you, but she told me your father hit her because the soup was too salty. She told me you sat there and watched. She showed me the bruise on her face. So no, I'm not putting her on the phone. And no, she's not coming back to that house. My father was frustrated. Sophia has been struggling with basic household management, and he was trying to correct. He hit her, Daniel. That's not correction. That's assault. And you enabled it by doing nothing. His voice gets cold. You're interfering in our marriage. Your marriage ended the moment you chose your father over your wife's safety. We can work this out. I love Sophia. I want her to come home. Then you should have protected her when she was home. You should have stood up to your father. You should have been a husband instead of a coward. He hangs up on me. Sophia, listening from the couch, says quietly, he's going to hate you for that. Good. Maybe he'll hate me enough to leave you alone. But even as I say it, I know it's not going to be that simple. Men like Daniel don't give up easily. They don't let their wives just walk away. And men like the Commandante, men who've spent their entire lives commanding, controlling, demanding obedience, they don't accept defiance. We've won the first battle, getting Sophia out of that house, but the war is just beginning, and I'm not sure either of us is ready for what comes next. That night, Sophia sleeps in her old room, the room she grew up in, still painted the pale yellow she chose when she was 14. I sit up in the kitchen with a notebook and a pen, trying to make a plan. We need a lawyer. We need to document everything. We need to be ready for whatever the Commandante and Daniel do next. Around midnight, I write down a question that's been nagging at me all day. What else don't I know? If Sophia hid the abuse for this long, if she hid her birth control, if she learned to disappear so completely that I stopped seeing her, what else is she hiding? What other secrets is she keeping, either to protect me or to protect herself? And then I write another question. What is the Commandante hiding? A man that controlling, that obsessed with authority and appearances, that skilled at manipulation. What else is he capable of? What else has he done that we don't know about yet? I'm still sitting at the kitchen table when I hear Sophia scream. I run to her room. She's sitting up in bed, gasping, her face pale. He was here. He was in the room. He was standing at the foot of the bed. It was a nightmare, mi amor. You're safe. He can't get in here. But she's shaking so hard she can't hold the glass of water I bring her. She's shaking like someone who's been running for her life, and maybe she has been, for longer than either of us realized. I stay with her for the rest of the night, sitting in the chair by her bed, watching her sleep in fits and starts, jerking awake every time the house creaks or a car passes outside. And I understand that getting her out of the Comandante's house was only the first step. Keeping her out, keeping her safe, keeping her strong enough to face what comes next, that's going to take everything I have. But I'm ready. For the first time in years, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to fight for my daughter the way I should have been fighting all along. Monday morning, I call my bank and schedule an appointment with a financial advisor. I need to understand what resources I have, what options exist, how to protect Sophia if this turns into a legal battle. My house is paid off, but my savings are modest. I worked as a secretary for 30 years, careful with money, but never rich. My retirement account isn't large. My Social Security will start in a few years, but for now, I'm living on a small pension and the part-time work I do keeping books for a local pharmacy. It's not much, but it's mine, and I've learned how to stretch it. The banker, a young woman named Melissa, listens carefully as I explain the situation. She's professional, discreet, asking the right questions without pushing too hard. She pulls up my accounts on her computer and runs some numbers. You have about $6,000 in savings, she says. Your house is worth maybe $300,000, but taking out a mortgage at your age would be difficult. You could do a home equity line of credit, but I wouldn't recommend it unless absolutely necessary. What about getting Sophia access to her own money? Her paychecks have been going into an account her father-in-law controls. Melissa frowns. Is her name on the account? I don't know. If it's just his name, the money is legally his, regardless of where it came from. She'd have to prove that the deposits were her paychecks, and even then, it would be a legal battle. The easier path is to have her change her direct deposit immediately to a new account in her name only, somewhere the father-in-law doesn't have access. Can we do that today? Absolutely. I can set up an account for her right now if she's here. Sophia is in the waiting area, staring at a magazine without reading it. I wave her in. 20 minutes later, she has her own bank account, her own debit card, and instructions to contact her school's payroll department first thing in the morning to redirect her paycheck. What about the money that's already in the other account? Sophia asks. 3 years of paychecks. That's got to be at least $100,000. Melissa shakes her head. That's going to require a lawyer. You'd have to prove it's marital property, prove you had no access to it, prove the father-in-law was exerting undue control. It could take months, even years, and it's expensive. Sophia's face falls. So he just gets to keep it? Not necessarily, but getting it back won't be quick or easy. We leave the bank with one small victory and one massive problem. Sophia has protected her future earnings, but her past 3 years of work, gone. Controlled by a man who isn't even her husband, who has no legal right to her money, except that she never stood up and said no. The weight of it settles on her shoulders. I can see it happening, see her shrinking again, becoming smaller and quieter and more defeated. Hey, I say, stopping her on the sidewalk. Look at me. She looks up, and her eyes are wet. You're out. You're safe. You have your own bank account now. That's a start. The rest we'll figure out one step at a time. But you can't let him take your spirit along with your money. That's the one thing he doesn't get to keep. She nods, but I can tell she doesn't quite believe it yet. That afternoon, I call a lawyer. I found her name through a friend at church, a woman who specializes in domestic violence cases. Her office is small, just 2 rooms in a building near the courthouse, but it's clean and organized and covered in certificates that say she knows what she's doing. Her name is Lick, Fernanda Torres, and she's maybe 40 years old, dressed in a sharp suit, hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looks like someone who doesn't take nonsense from anyone. I like her immediately. She listens to Sophia's story without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When Sophia gets to the part about the slap, about Daniel's silence, Lick, Torres's jaw tightens. Have you taken photos of the bruise? She asks. Sophia nods. This morning. It's fading, but you can still see it. Good. Send those to me. We'll need them for the police report. Police report? Sophia's voice goes thin with fear. You were assaulted. That's a crime. We need to file a report, get it on record. Whether or not you want to press charges is up to you, but the documentation is crucial, especially if your husband or father-in-law try to contest a separation or divorce. Divorce? Sophia says the word like it's foreign, like she's never considered it before. You're planning to go back to him? Lick, Torres asks, not unkindly. No, I can't. But divorce seems so final. It is final, that's the point. Right now, you're legally married to a man who stood by while his father assaulted you. As long as you're married, he has certain rights. Rights to know where you live, rights to your earnings, rights to make medical decisions for you if you're incapacitated. Do you want him to have those rights? Sophia looks at me. I reach over and take her hand. It's your choice, mi amor. But you don't have to make it today. First, we document everything. We make you safe. Then we decide what comes next. Lick. Torres nods approvingly. Smart. Here's what we do immediately. File the police report for assault. File for a restraining order against the father-in-law. Start documentation for a possible separation or divorce. And, this is important, we start building a case for financial abuse. Financial abuse? I ask. The father-in-law controlling their money, isolating Sophia, making her dependent on him. That's a form of abuse. It's harder to prosecute than physical violence, but it's real, and it can be used in civil court to recover some of what's been taken. Sophia looks hopeful for the first time all day. I could get my money back? Some of it. Maybe. It's not guaranteed and it won't be fast, but we can try. We leave the lawyer's office with homework. Sophia needs to write down everything she remembers about the financial arrangement. How much she earned, where it went, what she was told about savings, investments, retirement accounts. Any documentation she has access to, any emails, any text messages, anything that shows the comandante controlling their money. She also needs to write down every incident of abuse, the insults, the isolation, the control, and finally, the violence. It takes her 3 days to write it all down. I sit with her at the kitchen table, bringing her tea, bringing her tissues, bringing her silence when that's what she needs. The document grows to 12 pages. 12 pages of 3 years of systematic cruelty disguised as concern, as tradition, as family values. When she's done, she hands it to me. I sound crazy, don't I? Like I'm making it up, like I'm exaggerating. I read it carefully. I read about the commandante timing her showers to make sure she wasn't wasting water, about him inspecting her closet and throwing away clothes he deemed inappropriate, about him listening to her phone calls and demanding to know what she and her friends talked about him making her weigh herself every Sunday and commenting if the number went up, about Daniel nodding along to all of it, agreeing, supporting, enabling. You don't sound crazy, I tell her. You sound like someone who survived, and now you're going to do more than survive. You're going to take your life back. On Thursday, we go to the police station. It's a gray building in a gray part of town. Everything concrete and fluorescent lights, and the smell of old coffee and stale cigarettes. We wait for 2 hours before someone can see us. Sophia fills out forms. She gives her statement to a bored-looking officer who types with 2 fingers and doesn't look up from his computer screen. He asks if she wants to press charges. She hesitates, looks at me, looks back at him. I don't know yet. Can I decide later? You can, but the longer you wait, the harder it is to prove. Bruises fade, memories get fuzzy, people change their stories. I'm not changing my story. He finally looks at her. That's what everyone says. Then family gets involved. Lawyers get involved. People realize what a trial means, what it costs, how their private business becomes public record. And suddenly, they're not so sure anymore. My father-in-law hit me because I oversalted soup. My husband watched and did nothing. I'm sure. Something shifts in the officer's expression. Respect, maybe, or just recognition that this isn't going away quietly. All right, I'm filing the report. If you decide to press charges, contact the prosecutor's office. They'll take it from there. We leave with a case number and a photocopy of the report. It's not much, but it's something. It's proof that what happened was real, was wrong, was serious enough that the state took note. That night, Daniel shows up at my door. I see him through the peephole, standing on my small porch, wearing his work clothes, looking tired and sad and angry all at once. I open the door but keep the chain on. I want to talk to Sophia, he says. She doesn't want to talk to you. She's my wife. She's my daughter. And she's an adult who can make her own decisions. She doesn't want to see you. Patricia, please, I love her. I made a mistake. I should have stood up to my father. I know that now. But we can fix this. I can fix this. Just let me talk to her. Behind me, Sophia appears in the hallway. She looks at Daniel through the gap in the door, and I see something complicated cross her face. Not love, exactly. Not anymore. But memory of love. Memory of who they used to be before the Commandante ground her down to nothing. What do you want? She asks. I want you to come home. That's not my home, Daniel. It never was. It was your father's house, and you let him run it like a military barracks. You let him control everything. You let him control me. I'll fix it. We'll move out. Get our own place. It'll be different. With what money? Your father controls everything you earn. He falters. I can change the direct deposit. I can set up a new account. Did you do that already? Not yet, but I will. When? Tomorrow? Next week? When your father gives you permission? That's not fair. What's not fair is that I worked for 3 years and have nothing to show for it because you let your father steal my money. What's not fair is that I got hit in your father's kitchen and you sat there like a statue. What's not fair is that I have to start my whole life over at 28 because you weren't strong enough to be a real husband. Daniel's face crumples. Sophia, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll do better. I promise. Your promises don't mean anything anymore. She turns and walks away. I close the door, lock it, set the chain. Daniel stands on the porch for a long time. I can see his shadow through the frosted glass panel. Finally, he leaves. Sophia is in her room, crying. I sit with her again, the way I've been sitting with her every night, and I wonder how long it takes to heal from 3 years of systematic destruction. How long before she can hear a door open without flinching? How long before she can cook dinner without panic? How long before she can trust her own judgment again? Did I do the right thing? She asks, turning him away. Do you want to go back to him? No, but I feel guilty. He looked so sad. He should feel sad. He should feel ashamed. But that's not your responsibility. You're not responsible for fixing him or saving him or making him feel better about the choices he made. You're only responsible for taking care of yourself. I don't know how to do that. For 3 years, I've been taking care of everyone else, making sure the Commandante's coffee was right, making sure Daniel's shirts were ironed, making sure I was quiet and small and didn't cause problems. I don't remember how to take care of me. Then we'll learn together. Tomorrow, you're going back to work. You're going to teach your kindergartners. You're going to be the person they need you to be. And in the evening, you're going to come home here, to this safe place, and you're going to rest. And slowly, day by day, you're going to remember who you are. What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out together. But I think you can. I think you're stronger than you know. She falls asleep eventually, exhausted from crying. I go back to the kitchen, back to my notebook, and I start making lists. Things we need to do, things we need to prepare for. The restraining order hearing is in 10 days. Lix Torres warned us that the Commandante will fight it, that he'll bring his own lawyer, that he'll paint himself as a concerned father-in-law and Sophia as a hysterical, ungrateful daughter-in-law. We need to be ready. We need witnesses, documentation, evidence. But what we really need is for Sophia to stand up in court and tell her story without breaking. And I'm not sure she's ready for that. The weekend passes quietly, too quietly. No more calls from Daniel, no messages, no midnight visits. It feels like the calm before a storm, like something is building just out of sight. On Sunday, my sister Carmen calls. She's my older sister, the one who always followed the rules, always did what our mother wanted, always chose peace over truth. She lives in Puebla with her husband of 35 years, and she's been hearing things through the family grapevine. Patricia, what's going on with Sophia? I heard she left Daniel. She did. Why? What happened? I give her the abbreviated version. The control, the isolation, the violence. My sister listens in silence, and when I'm done, she sighs. Patricia, marriage is hard. You know that. You have to be willing to work through problems. This isn't a problem you work through, Carmen. This is abuse. Don't be dramatic. A slap isn't abuse. It's discipline. Our father used to discipline us, and we turned out fine. Did we? Did we really? Or did we just learn to accept being treated badly because we were taught that was normal? I'm just saying, maybe Sophia is being too sensitive. Young people today, they don't have any tolerance for discomfort. Everything is abuse. Everything is trauma. Sometimes you just need to toughen up and deal with it. I feel something cold settle in my chest. Carmen, if your husband hit you, would you want someone to tell you to toughen up? My husband would never hit me. Neither would Daniel, until he watched his father do it. So tell me, how do you know? How do you know that the man you married 35 years ago won't change? Won't decide one day that you've overstepped, that you've embarrassed him, that you need to be corrected? Silence on the other end. Then, you're being unfair. I'm being honest, and I'm not going to sacrifice my daughter's safety so the family can pretend everything is fine. If that makes me dramatic, so be it. I hang up before she can respond. My hands are shaking. Sophia appears in the doorway, watching me. The family's turning on us, aren't they? She says. Some of them. The ones who think tradition matters more than truth. How many people are going to think I'm wrong for leaving? How many people are going to say I'm selfish, that I'm destroying my marriage, that I should have tried harder? Too many. But the people who matter, the people who really love you, they'll understand. And the rest, they can think whatever they want. Their opinions don't pay your bills or protect your safety or give you your life back. I'm going to lose people over this. Yes, but you already lost yourself staying, so you get to choose which loss you can live with. She thinks about that. Then she nods. I choose me. Good, then that's what we fight for. Monday morning, Sophia goes back to work. I drive her to the school, a small private kindergarten in a nice neighborhood, colorful buildings and playground equipment, and the sound of children's laughter. She sits in the car for a long moment before getting out. Everyone's going to know, she says. Daniel's probably already told people. The gossip's probably already started. Let it. You didn't do anything wrong. You escaped. That's something to be proud of, not ashamed of. She goes in, and I wait in the parking lot for 30 minutes, making sure no one follows her, making sure she's okay. Through the window, I can see her in her classroom, surrounded by 5-year-olds, reading them a story. She's smiling. It's the first real smile I've seen on her face in days. Maybe weeks, maybe years. I drive home and spend the day cleaning the house, doing laundry, making soup, not tortilla soup, something else, something without salt, something safe. Around 3 o'clock, my phone rings. Unknown number. I answer. Hello? Senora Patricia? A woman's voice. Soft. Nervous. Yes. Who is this? This is Senora Clara. From the Comandante's house. I need to talk to you about Sophia. My heart jumps. Is she okay? Did something happen? She's fine. But you need to know. The Comandante is planning something. He's been on the phone with lawyers. He's talking about filing charges against you for kidnapping, for interference with a marriage, for turning his son's wife against the family. He's talking about getting a court order to force Sophia to come back. Can he do that? I don't know. But he's very angry. And when he's angry, he's dangerous. I've worked for him for 20 years. I've seen what he's capable of when people disobey him. Why are you telling me this? Silence. Then, because Sophia doesn't deserve what's happened to her. Because I've watched her disappear over the past 3 years, and I didn't do anything to stop it, because I'm a coward, and I'm trying to be less of one. Please protect her. Don't let him get her back. I won't. Thank you for calling. She hangs up without saying goodbye. I sit there holding the phone, my mind racing. Kidnapping, interference, court orders. The Comandante is escalating, and we're running out of time to prepare. I call Lick, Torres immediately. She listens. Asks a few questions, then says calmly, he's bluffing, mostly. He can't file kidnapping charges because Sophia is an adult who left voluntarily. He can't force her to return to a marriage she doesn't want, but he can make your life miserable with lawsuits, with harassment, with pressure. So what do? We move up the restraining order hearing. I'll file an emergency motion, and we prepare for war, because that's what this is now. The Comandante isn't going to let go easily. Men like him never do. The emergency hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, 2 days away. Sophia comes home from work that evening exhausted, but lighter somehow, like being around the children reminded her that goodness still exists in the world. How was it? I ask. Hard, but good. The principal pulled me aside and asked if I was okay. I told her I'm separating from my husband. She said if I need anything, time off, a reference for a new apartment, anything, just ask. That's good. That's really good. And the kids, they don't know anything is wrong. They just wanted to show me their drawings and tell me about their weekends. It felt normal, like I had a life before Daniel, and I can have one after him too. She eats dinner for the first time in days without me having to encourage her. She watches television. She laughs at something silly on a comedy show. Small things, but they feel like miracles. That night, around midnight, someone throws a rock through my living room window. The crash wakes us both. Sophia screams. I grab my phone and call the police while we huddle in the hallway, away from the windows, listening for sounds of someone trying to get in. The police arrive 20 minutes later. They find the rock on my living room floor, glass everywhere. No note, no message. Just a rock big enough to shatter the window, but small enough to throw from the street. Did you see anyone? The officer asks. No, we were asleep. Anyone have reason to target you? I tell him about Sophia's situation, about the comandante, about the threats. He takes notes, looks skeptical. Could be random, could be kids, could be related. Hard to say. We'll file a report, increase patrols in the neighborhood. Best thing you can do is install security cameras, maybe get an alarm system. After they leave, I board up the window with cardboard and duct tape. Sophia sits on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, shaking. He's trying to scare us, she says. I know. It's working. I know that too. But we're not backing down. We're not giving him what he wants. What if he escalates? What if next time it's not just a rock? I don't have a good answer for that. So I just hold her. And I pray to a God I'm not sure I believe in anymore. And I hope that justice and safety and protection are more than just pretty words. The next morning, I call a locksmith and have him install deadbolts on all the doors. I call a security company and schedule an installation for a camera system. I call my neighbor, an older man named Don Ector, who used to be a police officer, and ask him to keep an eye on the house. Everyone says yes. Everyone wants to help. But I can feel it, the way the danger is getting closer, tighter, more urgent. The Comandante is sending a message, back off or else, but we're past backing off now. Wednesday morning, we dress carefully for court. Sophia in a simple dress, conservative, nothing flashy. Me in slacks and a blouse, looking like the responsible mother I'm trying to be. Lick. Torres meets us at the courthouse, carrying a briefcase full of documents. Remember, she says to Sophia, tell the truth. Don't embellish, don't minimize. Just tell the judge exactly what happened. And if you get emotional, that's okay. Emotion is honest. We go through security, take the elevator to the 3rd floor, sit on a hard bench outside the courtroom. Other people wait too. Other families in crisis, other stories of pain and betrayal, and the law trying to sort out who deserves protection. At 9 o'clock, our case is called. Inside the courtroom, the Comandante is already there. He's wearing his dress uniform, full medals, looking like a decorated war hero instead of a man who beats his daughter-in-law over soup. His lawyer is a sharp-dressed man in his 50s. Expensive suit, confident smile. Daniel is there too, sitting behind his father, looking miserable and small. The judge is a woman in her 60s, gray hair, reading glasses, an expression that says she's heard every story and believed none of them until proven otherwise. Lick Torres presents our case. She submits the police report, the photos of Sophia's bruise, the 12-page document of abuse, the testimony from me about what I witnessed when I picked Sophia up from the house. The Comandante's lawyer objects to everything. He says Sophia is a disgruntled daughter-in-law trying to destroy a respected military officer's reputation. He says the bruise could have come from anywhere. He says Sophia is mentally unstable, that she's been struggling with her marriage, that she's lashing out. Then the judge asks Sophia to testify. Sophia walks to the front of the courtroom. She puts her hand on the Bible. She swears to tell the truth, and then she tells her story. She tells it simply, clearly, without exaggeration. She tells about the control, the isolation, the financial abuse, the constant criticism, and finally, the violence. When she's done, the Comandante's lawyer asks her questions, trying to trip her up, trying to make her sound confused or vindictive. Isn't it true that you struggled with household management? I sometimes made mistakes, yes, but that doesn't justify being hit. Isn't it true that the Comandante was only trying to help you become a better wife? No, he was trying to control me. There's a difference. Isn't it true that you left because your mother convinced you to, not because you were actually in danger? Sophia looks at me. Then she looks back at the lawyer. My mother gave me permission to save myself, but I'm the one who made the choice, because staying would have killed me. The courtroom is silent. The judge takes off her reading glasses. She looks at the comandante. She looks at Sofia. She looks at the stack of papers in front of her. I'm granting the temporary restraining order, she says. Comandante Ruiz is to have no contact with Sofia, directly or indirectly, for a period of 6 months. A full hearing will be scheduled to determine if the order should be made permanent. This court is adjourned. Sofia starts crying. Lick. Torres grips her hand. The comandante stands up, his face red with fury, and his lawyer has to physically hold him back from approaching us. We leave through a side door, quickly, before the comandante can follow. In the hallway, Sofia collapses into my arms. It's over, she says. It's finally over. It's not over, Lick. Torres says gently. But it's a start. A good start. We go out to the parking lot, and I see Daniel leaning against my car, waiting. Sofia tenses. I just want to talk, he says, holding up his hands. I'm not here to cause problems. You shouldn't be here at all, Lick, Torres says. You're violating the spirit of the restraining order. The order is against my father, not me. For now. Daniel looks at Sofia. I'm sorry. For everything. For not protecting you. For being weak. For letting my father control our lives. You deserved better. You deserve better. Yes, Sofia says. I do. I moved out of my father's house. I got my own apartment. I changed my direct deposit. I'm starting over. And I want to try again. Differently. Without my father's interference. Just you and me. Sofia shakes her head. It's too late, Daniel. It doesn't have to be. We can go to counseling. We can rebuild trust. I love you. You loved your father more. When it mattered, you chose him over me. I can't forget that. I can't forgive that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So that's it? We're done? I don't know. But I know I'm not coming back to you right now. I need time. I need space. I need to figure out who I am without someone controlling every aspect of my life. Daniel's face crumples, but he nods. Okay, I understand. But Sofia, I'm not giving up. I'm going to become the man you deserved in the first place. And maybe someday, you'll give me another chance. He walks away. Sofia watches him go, and I can see the conflict in her expression. Part of her still loves him. Part of her wants to believe he can change. But a bigger part, a stronger part, knows that wanting something doesn't make it true. You okay? I ask. I will be. Someday. We drive home. We order pizza. We watch a movie. Normal things, safe things. Things that remind us that life can be ordinary and peaceful and free. Around 10 o'clock, my phone rings. Lick, Torres. I have news, she says. The prosecutor's office wants to press charges against the comandante. Assault and battery. They think they have a strong case with Sofia's testimony, the photos, the police report. What does that mean? It means a trial. It means Sofia will have to testify again. It means the comandante could go to prison if he's convicted. How long? For a first offense? Maybe a year. Maybe probation. But it's on his record. He'll be a convicted abuser. That matters. I tell Sofia. She looks terrified. I don't know if I can do it. Testify against him in criminal court. That's different from a restraining order hearing. You don't have to decide tonight. The prosecutor will reach out in a few days. You can talk to them, see what it would involve, and then make your choice. What if I say no? Then you say no. This is your life. You get to decide. But we both know that if she says no, the comandante gets away with it. He gets away with 3 years of control and cruelty and violence. He gets to tell himself, and everyone else, that he was right all along, that Sofia was just being dramatic, that women need discipline. The question is whether Sofia is strong enough to stop him. 3 days later, we meet with the prosecutor. Her name is Lick Guerrero, and she's tough and no-nonsense and completely focused on getting a conviction. I'm not going to lie to you, she tells Sofia. This will be hard. The defense will paint you as an ungrateful daughter-in-law. They'll dig into your life, your marriage, your mental health. They'll try to make you look unstable or vindictive. But if you can handle that, if you can stand up in court and tell the truth, we can win this. What happens if we lose? He walks free, and he tells everyone that he was falsely accused, that you're a liar, that he's the victim. And other women in his life, future daughters-in-law, neighbors, anyone in his sphere, they'll know that he can get away with it. Sofia sits with that. Then she says, I'll do it. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Lick Guerrero smiles. That's the bravest thing I've heard all week. The trial is set for 6 weeks away. 6 weeks to prepare, to gather more evidence, to build the case. 6 weeks of Sophia going to work every day, coming home to my house, trying to build a new life while the old one is still demanding her attention. In those 6 weeks, things happen. Daniel files for divorce. He does it quietly, without drama, through a lawyer. He asks for nothing except the division of their few shared possessions. Sophia signs the papers without argument. The Comandante tries to contact Sophia 3 times, violating the restraining order. Each time, we document it, report it, and each violation adds to the case against him. Sophia starts going to therapy. A woman who specializes in domestic violence survivors, who teaches Sophia that what happened to her wasn't her fault, that she's not weak or broken or damaged, that she's a survivor who's learning to thrive. And slowly, day by day, I watch my daughter come back to life. She starts laughing again. Really laughing. Not the fake, polite laugh she perfected in the Comandante's house. She starts making plans. She wants to look for her own apartment, something small and affordable, a place that's truly hers. She wants to save money for her dream, opening that preschool, the one she's been imagining for years. I'm going to call it Semillas de Esperanza, she tells me one evening. Seeds of hope, a place where children learn that they're valuable, that their voices matter, that they deserve kindness. That's a beautiful name. It's what I needed when I was in that house. Hope, the seed of possibility that things could be different. You gave me that, Mama. When you showed up and took me away, you planted that seed. I cry when she says that. Happy tears, proud tears, tears of relief that we made it through the worst and came out the other side intact. The trial happens on a cold morning in January. We arrive early, dressed professionally, ready to face whatever comes. The courtroom fills with people, family members on both sides, friends, witnesses. The press, because a retired military officer being charged with domestic violence, is news. The trial lasts 3 days. The prosecutor presents the evidence methodically, building a clear picture of control and abuse and violence. Sophia testifies for 2 hours, answering every question with calm clarity, not backing down even when the defense lawyer gets aggressive. Isn't it true you were a difficult wife? I was learning to be a wife, but difficulty doesn't justify violence. Isn't it true you provoked the Comandante with your incompetence? I made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But hitting someone over soup is not a proportional response. Isn't it true you're doing this for money? To get back at a family that welcomed you? I'm doing this so the next woman who enters that house doesn't have to suffer the way I did. The Comandante testifies in his own defense. He's calm, collected, articulate. He talks about military discipline, about the need for order, about how he was only trying to teach Sophia to be better. He frames the slap as a momentary lapse in judgment, something he regrets, but something that's been blown out of proportion by a hysterical young woman and her meddling mother. The jury deliberates for 4 hours. They come back with a verdict, guilty. The Comandante is sentenced to 18 months in prison, suspended to probation, mandatory anger management classes, and a permanent restraining order keeping him away from Sophia. It's not perfect. He's not going to jail. Not really. Not unless he violates probation. But it's justice. It's accountability. It's a public acknowledgement that what he did was wrong, was criminal, was unacceptable. Sophia cries in the courtroom. I hold her. Lick. Guerrero shakes our hands, looking satisfied. You did it, she says to Sophia. You stood up and told your truth, and 12 strangers believed you. That's powerful. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm us. Sophia declines to comment, but I give them a brief statement. My daughter is a survivor. She's brave and strong, and she's going to use this experience to help other women find their own strength. That's all we have to say. We go home. We order Chinese food. We watch a silly movie. And for the first time in months, the house feels peaceful, not perfect, not free of fear or worry or the lingering effects of trauma, but peaceful. 6 months later, Sophia moves into her own apartment. It's small, just a studio in a decent neighborhood, but it's hers. She decorates it with bright colors and plants and photos of people who love her. She pays her own rent with money she's saving from her teaching job. She's also been working on her business plan for Semillas de Esperanza. She's applied for grants, talked to other educators, scouted locations. It's going to take time, years maybe, but she's building toward it with patience and determination. Daniel sends her a letter on what would have been their 4th anniversary. He's in therapy. He's estranged from his father. He's learning slowly what it means to be his own man. He doesn't ask her to take him back. He just tells her he's sorry, and he hopes she finds happiness. Sophia reads the letter once, then puts it in a drawer. Maybe someday she'll respond. Maybe someday she'll forgive him. But that's not today's work. The Comandante completed his anger management classes, but hasn't learned anything from them. I hear through the family grapevine that he's bitter, isolated, insisting he's the victim of a feminist conspiracy. Most of the family has distanced themselves from him. Some still defend him, say Sophia overreacted, that I turned her against a good man. I don't care what they think anymore. I learned something through all of this. I learned that protecting the people you love matters more than keeping the peace, that speaking the truth matters more than maintaining appearances, that sometimes being a good mother means being an uncomfortable mother, a difficult mother, a mother who makes waves because the alternative is watching your child drown. One evening, Sophia comes over for dinner. We cook together in my small kitchen, laughing over a pot of soup. She makes it perfectly, the right amount of salt, and we laugh about that too, about how something that caused so much pain can become just an ingredient again, neutral, harmless. "Mama," she says while we're eating, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "When I open Semillas de Esperanza, I want you to be part of it, not just as an investor or a supporter, as a co-founder. You helped me find the seeds of hope. I want you to help me plant them for other kids." I'm too overcome to speak for a moment. Then I say, "I'd be honored. It might be a few years before we can actually open. We need capital, a location, all the licensing and paperwork. But I want to know you'll be there with me when we do." "I'll be there, every step of the way." We finish dinner. We wash dishes together. And through the kitchen window, I see the street outside, see neighbors walking their dogs, see lights coming on in windows, see the ordinary evening life of a city that keeps turning no matter what happens to any one person. But inside this house, inside this small, clean space that I fought to keep, something extraordinary is happening. My daughter is healing. My daughter is building. My daughter is becoming the woman she was always meant to be. Before the Comandante and Daniel and 3 years of systematic cruelty tried to destroy her. And I'm here, watching, supporting, learning alongside her that it's never too late to reclaim your life, your voice, your dignity. It's never too late to fight back. It's never too late to become the person who refuses to accept that cruelty is normal, that control is love, that silence is safety. A few weeks later, I'm going through some old papers in my closet, organizing documents for taxes, when I find something I'd forgotten about. A letter my mother wrote to me 30 years ago when I was divorcing Sophia's father, when I was terrified and alone and convinced I was making a terrible mistake. I open it and read her words, words I couldn't hear back then because I was too afraid. "Mi querida Patricia," she wrote, "you think you're breaking the family by leaving him. But family is not held together by suffering. Family is held together by love and respect and protection. If he cannot offer those things, then you are not breaking anything. You are building something better. Be brave. Your daughter is watching. Show her what strength looks like." I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face, wishing I could thank her, wishing I could tell her that I finally understand, that I finally learned the lesson, even if it took me decades. And then I realize I did thank her by doing for Sophia what she wanted me to do for myself, by being the mother who fights, who protects, who refuses to let her child be destroyed by people who mistake control for love. That night, I frame the letter and hang it in my hallway, where I'll see it every day. A reminder that the hard choices are usually the right ones, that breaking silence is more important than keeping peace, that generations of women can break cycles of harm if they're willing to be brave. I think about my grandmother, who stayed in an abusive marriage her whole life because leaving wasn't an option for women of her time. I think about my mother, who left and rebuilt her life, despite everyone telling her she was selfish and wrong. I think about myself, taking 3 decades to truly understand what strength means. And I think about Sophia, who got out after 3 years instead of 3 decades, who has a whole life ahead of her to build with wisdom and courage and hope. The cycle is breaking, slowly, painfully, imperfectly, but it's breaking. And someday, when Sophia has her own children, when she opens Semillas de Esperanza and welcomes families who need seeds of hope planted in their lives, she'll know exactly what to teach them. She'll teach them that they're valuable, that their voices matter, that they deserve kindness, that love never demands suffering. And if any of those children ever find themselves in a home that feels like a prison, if any of them ever need someone to throw open the door and say, "I'm here, I'm taking you somewhere safe," they'll remember what they learned at Semillas de Esperanza. They'll remember that asking for help isn't weakness, that leaving isn't failure, that choosing yourself isn't selfish. They'll remember that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say, "No more," and mean it. Outside my window, the city continues its evening rhythm. Somewhere out there, another woman is trying to decide if she's brave enough to leave. Another daughter is wondering if her mother will believe her. Another family is negotiating the complicated space between love and loyalty and truth. I don't know their stories. I can't fix their problems, but I can stand as proof that escape is possible, that healing happens, that rebuilding a life after it's been shattered is hard, but worth it. 3 months after the trial, something unexpected happens. Senora Clara calls me again. Her voice is different this time, not scared, but urgent. "Senora Patricia, I need to tell you something. About the money." "What money?" "Sofia's paychecks. The Comandante didn't invest them the way he said. He didn't save them for their future. He spent most of it." My blood runs cold. "On what?" "His lifestyle. His medical bills. He's been having health problems he didn't tell anyone about. His gambling debts. He plays poker every week with other retired officers. His pride. He couldn't stand the idea that his pension wasn't enough to maintain the house the way it used to be. So he took Daniel's money and Sofia's money and used it to keep up appearances." "How do you know this?" "I've been cleaning his office for 20 years. I've seen the bank statements. I kept copies. I didn't know what to do with them. But after the trial, after seeing Sofia stand up to him, I realized I needed to do something too. I need to be brave like her. Can you send me those statements? I can do better. I can testify. If you reopen the financial abuse case, I'll tell the court what I saw. Everything I saw." I call Lick Torres immediately. She's interested, very interested. Financial fraud, elder financial abuse statutes applied to vulnerable adults in controlling relationships, conversion of funds, breach of fiduciary duty, even though he wasn't technically a fiduciary. It's complicated, but it's possible. "How much did he take?" Liquor, Torres asks. "According to Senora Clara's copies, about $80,000 over 3 years. Sofia gasps when I tell her. 80,000. That's my entire salary, everything I earned. He spent it on himself? Most of it. There's maybe 10,000 left in the account he controls, and even that he's been using to pay his legal bills from the criminal case. Can we get it back? We can try. It won't be fast, it won't be easy. But with Senora Clara's testimony and the bank records, we have a case. We file a civil suit against the Comandante. He's furious, calls it harassment, calls us vindictive. But the numbers don't lie. The bank statements show exactly where the money went. The mortgage payments on his house that he told everyone was paid off but wasn't. The credit card bills from expensive restaurants, expensive clothes, maintaining the image of a successful retired officer, the cash withdrawals every Friday night before his poker games. The civil trial takes another 4 months. This time, Senora Clara testifies. She's nervous, her voice shaking, but she tells the truth. She describes the Comandante's financial situation, the conversations she overheard, the documents she saw in his office. The Comandante's lawyer tries to discredit her, calls her a disgruntled employee with a grudge. But Senora Clara doesn't back down. "I worked for him for 20 years, she says. "I was loyal. But loyalty doesn't mean helping someone steal from his own son and daughter-in-law. There's a difference between being loyal and being complicit." The judge awards Sofia $65,000 in restitution. Not the full amount, because some expenses the Comandante made were deemed legitimate household costs that benefited everyone living there. But most of it, most of her stolen wages, her stolen future, her stolen security, the Comandante is ordered to pay it back in monthly installments over 5 years. Given his age and his pension, it's all he can afford. But it's something. It's accountability. It's justice in the form of numbers on a page, money slowly returning to the person it was stolen from. With that settlement money, Sofia opens a savings account specifically for Semillas de Esperanza. She puts $40,000 into it, keeps $25,000 for herself as an emergency fund, uses a few thousand to furnish her apartment properly, And slowly, her dream starts becoming real. A year after leaving the Comandante's house, Sofia is a different person. She's confident. She speaks up in faculty meetings at work. She's been promoted to lead teacher. She volunteers at a women's shelter on weekends, teaching art classes to children whose mothers are escaping violence, giving those kids the kind of hope she had to fight to reclaim. She's dating someone new, a man she met at a coffee shop, a graphic designer who makes her laugh and never raises his voice and splits the check without making it a power play. It's casual, she says. She's not ready for serious yet. But it's healthy. It's equal. It's what a relationship should look like. Daniel sends a card on her birthday. Just a simple message. I hope you're happy. You deserve it. She keeps it, but she doesn't respond. Some doors close permanently, and that's okay. That's healthy. The Comandante makes his monthly payments on time, probably because his probation officer is watching and any violation could send him to actual prison. He's moved to a smaller house, sold the big one because he couldn't afford the mortgage payments without stealing from his son. He's alone. Daniel visits him once a month out of obligation, but their relationship is strained, maybe permanently broken. I don't feel bad for him. I can't. He made choices. He built a kingdom on control and cruelty, and when it collapsed, he had no one left. That's the price of ruling through fear instead of love. 2 years after the day Sofia called me crying, I'm sitting in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning, drinking coffee, when she calls again. This time, her voice is different, excited, almost breathless. Mama, I found it. Found what? The perfect location for Semillas de Esperanza. It's a small building in Colonia Roma, used to be a community center, needs renovation, but the bones are good. 2 classrooms, a play area, a small kitchen. And the rent is reasonable because the landlord wants to support educational projects. That's wonderful, mi amor. I want you to come see it with me. Today, if you can. I need your opinion before I sign anything. I meet her at the building an hour later. It's exactly what she described, a little worn but full of potential. Windows that let in good light. A small courtyard where children could play safely. I can see it the way she sees it, painted in bright colors, filled with laughter and learning and seeds of hope taking root. It's perfect, I tell her. I'm going to need help with the renovation, with the business plan, with all the licensing and inspections and bureaucracy. It's overwhelming. That's what I'm here for. We'll do it together, just like we've done everything else. She hugs me right there on the sidewalk, in front of the building that's going to become something beautiful, something meaningful, something that will outlast both of us. Thank you, she whispers, for everything, for coming to get me, for believing me, for fighting with me, for showing me what strength looks like. You did the hard part. You stood up. You saved yourself. I just drove the car. You did more than that. You gave me permission to choose myself. That's everything. We sign the lease a week later. We spend the next 6 months renovating, painting, building, planning. Sofia uses her settlement money wisely, hiring contractors for the big work, doing the detail work herself with help from friends and volunteers. I help with the business licensing, the curriculum planning, the marketing. We open Semillas de Esperanza on a sunny morning in April, exactly 3 years after Sofia's wedding. The irony isn't lost on either of us. 3 years ago, she walked into a prison dressed as a marriage. Today, she's opening a door to freedom for other families. 20 children enroll in the first semester. Their parents are young mothers working multiple jobs, single fathers trying to give their kids stability. Families who need a safe place where their children can learn that the world doesn't have to be scary or cruel or controlling. Sofia teaches them with patience and creativity. She creates an environment where mistakes are learning opportunities, where voices are heard, where every child knows they matter. And I'm there too, helping with administration, managing the finances, greeting families at drop-off and pickup. I'm 63 years old, and I'm starting a new career as a co-founder of a preschool. It's not what I expected from my retirement years. It's better. One afternoon, a woman comes to tour the school. She's young, maybe 25, with a toddler on her hip and bruises on her arms she's trying to hide with long sleeves despite the heat. She asks careful questions about the schedule, the curriculum, the safety protocols. Sofia answers everything patiently, professionally. Then, as the woman is leaving, Sofia hands her a card. "This is the women's shelter where I volunteer," Sofia says quietly. "They have resources, counseling, legal help, emergency housing. just in case you or anyone you know ever needs it." The woman's eyes fill with tears. She takes the card, tucks it into her purse, and nods. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't have to. 2 weeks later, she enrolls her daughter in the school. And 2 weeks after that, I see her at the women's shelter when I'm dropping off donations. She's in the transition program, learning job skills, working with a lawyer to file a restraining order against her husband. She sees me and smiles. "Your daughter saved my life," she says. "She saved her own life first," I tell her. "But she's good at sharing what she learned." That's what Semillas de Esperanza becomes. Not just a preschool, but a network of safety, a community of women helping women, children learning that they're valuable, families finding resources they didn't know existed. It grows slowly, carefully, sustainably. We never get rich from it. Sophia pays herself a modest salary, enough to live on, enough to keep saving for the future. I volunteer most of my time, taking only a small stipend for administrative work. But we're building something that matters, something that will be here long after we're gone, something that changes lives in small daily ways that add up to transformation. 5 years after that phone call that changed everything, I'm sitting in the courtyard of Semillas de Esperanza, watching children play, watching Sophia teach a group of 4-year-olds about colors and shapes and the importance of using their words instead of their fists. One of the children, a little boy named Miguel, falls and scrapes his knee. He starts to cry. Sophia scoops him up, cleans the scrape, puts on a bandage covered in cartoon dinosaurs. "You're okay," she tells him. "It hurts now, but it will heal. That's what bodies do. They heal." "My daddy says crying is for babies," Miguel says, sniffling. "Your daddy is wrong. Crying is for people who feel things, and feeling things is brave. The bravest people I know are the ones who can cry when they're hurt and then get back up and keep going." Miguel thinks about that. Then he nods, wipes his eyes, and runs back to play with his friends. I watch this exchange, and I think about everything Sophia has learned, everything she's teaching these children, everything she had to survive to get here. And I think about the question I asked myself that morning 5 years ago. How does a mother live with herself when she realizes she sent her daughter into a house that became a prison? The answer is, she doesn't just live with herself. She fights. She shows up. She drives across the city at 7 in the morning and walks into that house and takes her daughter back. And then she keeps fighting, every day, in every way, teaching her daughter and her daughter's daughter and all the children in her sphere of influence that they deserve safety, respect, dignity, and love without conditions. The late afternoon sun slants across the courtyard. Parents start arriving for pickup. They chat with Sophia, with me, with each other, building the kind of community that makes everyone stronger. One mother, Elena, pulls me aside. "I wanted to thank you," she says. "My daughter talks about Señorita Sofia constantly. She says Sofia is the bravest person she knows, and that's made my daughter braver too. She stood up to a bully at the playground yesterday. She used her words, just like Sofia teaches. She didn't cry or run away. She stood her ground. That's wonderful." It is, and I realized watching her that I need to be braver too. My husband, he's not violent, but he's controlling. He decides everything, what I wear, who I see, how I spend money. And I've been accepting it because I thought that was normal. But watching my daughter learn to use her voice made me realize I've lost mine. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I'm starting by opening my own bank account. And I'm going to start saying no when he makes decisions for me. Small steps, but steps. She walks away to collect her daughter, and I think about ripples. How one woman's courage ripples out to touch another woman, who ripples out to touch her daughter, who ripples out to touch her classmates, who ripple out to their own families. Courage is contagious. So is healing. That evening, Sophia and I lock up the school together, checking the rooms, turning off lights, making sure everything is secure for the night. We walk to our cars together, the way we do every day. "Mama," Sophia says, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "I want to start a support group here for mothers whose daughters are in difficult relationships, a place where they can talk about what they're seeing, what they're worried about, how to help without pushing their daughters away." That's a beautiful idea. I wish something like that had existed when I was with Daniel. Maybe if you'd had other mothers to talk to, other people who understood, you would have seen the signs sooner. Maybe. Or maybe everything happened exactly when it needed to. Maybe I needed to fail at seeing it the first time so I could understand how to fight when it mattered most. Do you really believe that? I believe that we can't change the past. We can only use it to build a better future. And that's what we're doing here, every day, with every child, with every family. She hugs me goodnight, gets in her car, drives toward her apartment, and her life and her future. I watch her go. This daughter who survived, who thrived, who turned her pain into purpose. And I get in my own car, drive to my own house, the small 2-bedroom place I fought to keep. The place where Sophia slept in her childhood bed while she rebuilt her life. The place where safety became possible again. Inside, I make tea. I sit at my kitchen table. I pull out a journal I've been keeping, writing down stories from Semillas de Esperanza, lessons learned, wisdom earned through suffering. Someday, I think, I might turn these stories into something. A book, maybe, or just a record for future generations. Proof that the cycles can break, that courage is possible, that mothers and daughters can save each other if they're willing to fight. I write until the tea gets cold, until the light outside fades, until my hand cramps and I have to stop. And then I sit in the quiet of my house, my safe house, my paid-off house, my home that no one can take from me, and I feel something I didn't think I'd ever feel again. Peace. Not the false peace of silence and avoidance and pretending everything is fine. Real peace. The peace that comes from fighting the right battles, from protecting the people you love, from refusing to let cruelty disguise itself as tradition or control disguise itself as care. The peace that comes from knowing you did everything you could, that you showed up when it mattered, that you were brave enough to make waves because the alternative was letting someone drown. My phone buzzes. A text from Sophia. I love you, Mama. Thank you for never giving up on me. I text back, I love you too, and I never will. Outside, the city moves through its evening rhythms. Somewhere, a woman is deciding whether to stay or go. Somewhere, a mother is wondering if she should interfere. Somewhere, a child is learning what love looks like, for better or worse. And here, in this small house in this big city, a mother and daughter have already answered those questions. Stay or go? Go if staying means losing yourself. Should I interfere? Always, if someone you love is drowning. What does love look like? Like showing up, like fighting, like refusing to accept that suffering is normal or inevitable or deserved. That's the lesson I learned too late for my own youth, but just in time to save my daughters. That's the lesson Sophia is teaching every day at Semillas de Esperanza. That's the lesson we'll keep teaching, keep learning, keep living, until the cycles are broken and the seeds we've planted grow into forests of hope. The phone rings again. This time it's Daniel. I haven't heard from him in almost a year. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Patricia, he says. I'm calling because I need to tell you something. My father died yesterday. I sit with that news for a moment. How? Heart attack. He was alone in his house. The neighbor found him 2 days later. I'm sorry for your loss. Are you? Really? Yes. Even after everything, he was your father, and you loved him, even if he didn't deserve it. Silence on the other end. Then, the funeral is Saturday. I know Sophia won't come. I'm not asking her to, but I wanted you to know. Thank you for telling me. Patricia, I also wanted to say, I've been in therapy for 3 years now, really working on myself, understanding how I enabled him, how I failed Sophia, how I let fear make me weak. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to know that I've learned, that I'm different now, that if I ever have another relationship, I'll be the kind of partner Sophia deserved. That's good, Daniel. I hope that's true. Will you tell her? About my father? Yes, but what she does with that information is up to her. I know, thank you. He hangs up. I sit there holding the phone, thinking about the Comandante dying alone in a house he'd downsized to after losing everything. His son, his daughter-in-law, his reputation, his money, his control. He died the way he lived, isolated, rigid, unable to bend or change or admit he was wrong. There's a lesson in that too. I tell Sophia that evening. She's quiet for a long time. Do you want to go to the funeral? I ask. No, he doesn't deserve my presence, but I'm not glad he's dead. I'm nothing. I feel nothing about him. He's just a person who hurt me once. He's not important anymore. That's healthy. Is it? I thought I'd feel relief or closure or something, but I just feel empty where he used to be. That's okay too. Not every ending is dramatic. Sometimes people just stop mattering. She nods. I'm not going to the funeral. But I am going to do something else. What? I'm going to start a scholarship fund for children at Semillas de Esperanza whose families can't afford tuition. I'm going to call it the Resilience Fund, and I'm going to make sure every child who needs it can come to our school, can learn that they're valuable, can get the tools to break cycles before they're trapped in them. That's perfect. Will you help me set it up? Of course. And that's how the Comandante's death becomes something useful. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but transformation. Taking the energy that was once spent surviving him and redirecting it toward helping others survive their own comandantes, their own prisons, their own cycles of harm. The funeral happens without us. Daniel buries his father, processes his complicated grief, continues his own journey of healing and growth, and we continue ours. The Resilience Fund grows slowly, funded by small donations from parents at the school, from supporters who believe in what we're building, from grants and fundraising events. Within a year, we're able to offer 5 full scholarships. Within 2 years, 10. Sophia interviews each family personally, listening to their stories, understanding their situations, making sure the children who need our school the most can access it. And the children thrive. They learn colors and numbers and letters. But more importantly, they learn boundaries and consent and self-worth. They learn that their bodies belong to them, that their voices matter, that adults who love them should make them feel safe, not scared. They learn these lessons early, before the patterns set in, before the cycles can repeat. And some of them, years from now, will remember. When they're teenagers facing peer pressure, when they're young adults choosing partners, when they're parents deciding how to raise their own children, they'll remember what they learned at Semillas de Esperanza, and they'll make different choices, better choices, braver choices. That's the real legacy Sophia and I are building. Not a building or a business, but a generation of children who know their worth, who can recognize harm, who have the tools to protect themselves and ask for help when they need it. 10 years after that phone call that changed everything, I'm 72 years old. I've officially retired from most of my responsibilities at Semillas de Esperanza, though I still volunteer a few hours a week, still show up for special events, still help with fundraising and community outreach. Sophia is 43, confident and capable, and everything I hoped she'd become. She's married again, to Marco, the graphic designer from the coffee shop. He's kind and supportive and treats her like an equal partner. They have a 5-year-old daughter, my granddaughter Lucia, who attends Semillas de Esperanza and is already showing signs of her mother's strength and creativity. Daniel remarried too, I heard through mutual acquaintances. He has a good job, a healthy relationship, and a reputation as someone who did the work, who changed, who grew. He and Sophia exchanged friendly emails when she got married, civilized well wishes from people who once loved each other and now just hope the other is happy. That's mature. That's healthy. That's what healing looks like over time. On the anniversary of the day I drove to the Comandante's house to rescue Sophia, we have a tradition. We go to lunch together, just the two of us, and we remember. Not to wallow in the pain, but to honor how far we've come. To remind ourselves that the hard choices were worth it. This year, over coffee and chilaquiles, Sophia says something I've been waiting 10 years to hear. Mama, I'm happy. Really, truly happy. I wake up excited about my day. I'm proud of the work I do. I love my husband and my daughter. I have good friends and a good life. And I don't spend any time anymore wishing things had been different. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. If you hadn't shown up that day, if you hadn't been brave enough to fight for me when I couldn't fight for myself, but you did fight. You called me. You packed a bag. You walked out. I just held the door open. You did more than that. You showed me that love is supposed to feel like safety, not like fear. That's everything. We finish lunch. We hug goodbye. She goes back to Semillas de Esperanza, where 30 children are waiting to learn and play and grow in an environment that treats them with dignity. And I go home to my house, my beloved small house, and I think about everything that's happened in these walls. The crying and the planning and the healing. The late-night strategy sessions with lawyers. The early morning phone calls to banks and police stations. The gradual transformation from crisis to stability to thriving. These walls held us when we were breaking, and now they hold our peace. That evening I'm looking through old photo albums when I find a picture from Sophia's wedding. She's beautiful in her white dress, smiling at the camera. Daniel beside her looking proud, the comandante in his uniform standing behind them both like a sentinel. I almost throw the photo away, but then I stop, because that moment was real. That hope was real. The mistake was real, but so was the innocence, the belief that love would conquer everything, the trust that family meant safety. We didn't know then what we know now, and that's okay. We learned. We survived. We built something better from the ashes of what burned down. I put the photo back in the album, not to honor what happened, but to remember that we were different people then, and that growth requires starting from somewhere, even if that somewhere is painful. The doorbell rings. It's Elena, the mother who once pulled me aside to tell me her daughter had learned to be brave at our school. Her daughter is 14 now, confident and outspoken, and Elena herself has transformed, has divorced her controlling husband, has built her own career, has become an advocate for other women. She's here because she wants to volunteer at Semillas de Esperanza, wants to help with the Resilience Fund, wants to pass forward the help she once received. I wouldn't be here without your daughter, she says, without your school, without the example you both set, and I want to help other families find what we found. We'd love to have you. She stays for tea, and we talk about programs and fundraising and the community we're continuing to build. And I realize something beautiful. The work we started out of crisis has become something so much bigger. It's not about Sophia and me anymore. It's about dozens of families, hundreds of children, a whole community of people who believe that cycles can break, that healing is possible, that courage is contagious. After Elena leaves, I sit on my porch as the sun sets, watching the street, watching life happen in its ordinary, extraordinary way. And I think about that question I asked myself 10 years ago. How does a mother live with herself? The answer is simple now. By showing up, by fighting, by refusing to let fear or tradition or other people's opinions stop her from protecting the people she loves, by being brave enough to make waves, by understanding that breaking silence is more important than keeping peace, by teaching the next generation that they deserve safety, respect, dignity, and love without conditions. That's how a mother lives with herself. That's how a mother saves her daughter. That's how a mother changes the world, one brave choice at a time. If this story has touched your heart, subscribe now, leave a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. That helps us keep sharing stories of strong women, families, and the unexpected turns of life.